All right, good morning. Get my disclosure up here. All right. So, good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. My name is Jessica Davis. I'm a fitness and sports instructor at CFB Gagetown, just outside of Fredericton. And today I am doing a mobility class with you. We're going to predominantly focus in on the spine today. Just getting things moving, maybe increasing range of motion a little bit, a few stretches, things like that. So to start, I'm going to read off. All right, in response to COVID-19, PSP is offering telefitness to Canadian Armed Force members. By using social media platforms, the telefitness classes tailored to Canadian Armed Forces personnel become accessible to all. Prior to participating in this session and to make an informed decision on whether you should seek advice from a qualified exercise professional or healthcare provider, please consult the Get Active questionnaire of the Canadian Society of Exercise Physiology and its reference document, simply by clicking on the links below. So our fitness coordinator will put in a comment there with that Get Active questionnaire. So by continuing with this telefitness class, you understand that there is a possibility of physical injury and you agree that you do so voluntarily at your own risk. You also assume all risk of injury and agree to release the Canadian Forces Morale and Welfare Services from any and all claims related to your participation in this telefitness class. All right. Now that that is out of the way, all right, let's get to it. So mobility for the spine, you'll need a mat or just a soft surface that you can kneel and lie on. If you have either yoga blocks or just a couple or a few books, just something that can elevate you a little bit when lying down. So just go grab either a couple big textbooks, or if you have yoga blocks, either cork or foam, then that's awesome. And then some type of foam roller. I have a cork one and a foam one. Some type of foam roller would also be great. And if you don't have a foam roller, then don't worry about it. I'll give you something else to do during those parts of the class. Okay, so let's start seated on our mats. So just center yourself somewhere. And you can either cross your legs or you can have your feet out in front of you, whatever is comfortable. If you have blocks or a textbook, then you can prop yourself up and sit on top of that block with crossed legs. If you like a little more elevation, it's up to you. So to start, we're just going to set our hands on our knees wherever we are, or if your legs are out, just set them beside you. And just do some very small torso circles. So just planting your body at the hips into the ground, and then just moving your torso forward with the chest leading, and then coming back to center and continuing around. Maybe opening up and making your circles a little bit bigger now, feeling a bit of a stretch through your side or your lower back as you come around. And then switch directions. Same thing, start with a little bit smaller circle first. And then start to exaggerate, make it bigger, bringing the chest forward, and then back to neutral. One more, and then come back to center seated. If whatever position you're in, either straight legs or cross legs, is kind of uncomfortable for you now, feel free to switch it up if you need to. We're going to stay seated and do cat and cow from a seated position. So I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see what my spine is doing a little better. So hands on your knees or beside you again. We're going to do cat, so that means we round our shoulders. Try to think of tucking your tailbone under you and then bringing your head down, your chin to your chest. So rounding like you would through cat on your hands and knees. And then open up through cow, so the chest opens nice and proud now. Your chin lifts up and your gaze looks to the ceiling. And think of creating that round arch in your back as you stick your tailbone out. Coming back to cat again, rounding through the upper back, and open up to cow. Let's try to start matching this with our breath. So as we inhale, we open up, look up, create an arch in our back, and then exhale, round forward into cat, chin drops to the chest, tailbone tucks under, and shoulders round out. Inhale, open up. Exhale, crunch in. Keep flowing through that. Just matching it to your breath. One more to each. Good, and come back to center. Now we're going to put those two things together that we've just done. So we're going to do those torso circles like we were before, but this time we're going to extra exaggerate them with our cat and cow. So as we come around to the front, we're going to open up our shoulders. We're creating a bit of an arch in our spine, and then come around and arch your or push your shoulders out and compress your stomach as you come back. And then same thing out to the side, come forward, chest nice and proud, maybe look up a little bit, and then round back. You might feel a little funny at first, but once your body, your spine gets the idea of how you're supposed to be moving, opening up, and then collapsing in at the back. One more this direction. And then let's go back in the other way. So we're creating like a wave through our spine as we add in those cat and cow arches in our back. And one more this direction. Good, and then bring it back to center. You may hear a little pop and crack as you're doing that as well. That is A-okay. All right, we're going to bring it into the neck a little bit now to get it moving. So just from seated, whatever's comfortable for you in your seated position. And we're going to drop our right ear to our right shoulder, and then just inhale back up. So exhale, drop left ear to left shoulder, and then inhale to rise it back up. And just continue nice and slow, just going back and forth. Making sure only to drop your ear until you feel just enough of a stretch through the opposite side of your neck. And keep it nice and flowing to start. Don't make too much of a stretch yet through your neck. Good, come back up to center. Now we're going to bring the ear down to the shoulder and then bring our chin to our chest, roll our head around to the other side, and then come back up to neutral, go down the same way you just came, retrace that line, and then bring your head up to neutral, back down. Again, keeping it nice and dynamic. Try not to hold any position too long. One more to each side. Good. Awesome. You may feel that one side moved a little better than the other. Take note of things like that so that you can compare them at the end of class to the beginning, as well as just compare them through the days. And you can try to match tightness with what you've done the previous day. So we're gonna stay on the neck for one more. So we're going to look to our left and then drop your chin towards your shoulder. You should feel a stretch here on the opposite side of your neck. Look back up to the side and bring your head back to center. Same thing to the right. So turn your head to the right and then bring your chin towards your chest or your shoulder. Lift back up. Come back to center. Same thing again to the left. Drop the chin. Look back up and to center. Keep going with that. Again, keeping it flowing nicely rather than holding anything in a stretch. And just dropping your chin just to a place where you feel enough of a stretch, but there's no need to overdo it and try to drop your chin any further. We'll do one more to each side. Last one. Back to center. Good. All right. And our last one for seated, we'll do a bit of a spinal twist flow. So, from seated, we're going to inhale both arms up. We're going to bring our right hand to our left knee, and then the left hand just comes behind us. Sit up nice and tall, and just slightly twist your upper body, your chest, to that left side. Inhale your arms back up. Exhale, other side, left hand comes to right knee. Right hand goes behind you. Sit your chest up nice and tall. Inhale up. Exhale, lower to the left. Inhale up. Exhale, lower to the right. Inhale. Exhale down. Inhale. Exhale down. Good. Back to center. Now this time when we come down to the left with our arms, we're going to fold our torso just slightly over. So try not to round through your back and create any compression through your shoulders. Keep your shoulders and your chest up nice and proud, but just fold from the hip just a little bit, and then inhale back up to center. Exhale down to the right. Keep your shoulders in line, chest up nice and proud. Just fold a little bit over to the right. Inhale up. Exhale, slightly fold to the left. Inhale up. Exhale, slight fold. When you fold like this, you'll feel a bit of a stretch up through the opposite side in your low back. Let's do one more to each side. To the left. Inhale up. And to the right. And inhale up to center. Good. If there's any other movement that you want to make through your spine here while you're seated, feel free to do so. You can grab a sip of water if you need it, maybe tea or coffee if that's where you're at this morning. Okay, and we're going to move into tabletop now. So on our hands and knees. So tabletop here on your hands and knees. Knees are directly under the hips and hands are directly under the shoulders. So nice, strong position there. One thing I will mention before we get going, so we're going to do a few things in tabletop, which means our hands and our wrists are doing quite a bit of work here. So before we start, let's just warm up our wrists a little bit. So just sit back on your feet and do some wrist circles. Switch directions with those. Good. Now pretend you're flicking water off of your fingers, so you come from a fist and then flick water off. And just continue flicking water as fast as you can. Keep going. Get all those fingers and our wrists warmed up. Keep flicking. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Let's roll our wrists out one more time. Switch direction. Awesome. Okay, so for tabletop, I just want to take a minute to mention how your hands should be positioned on the ground. So your fingertips, each fingertip as well as your thumb, should be pressing into the ground and be very active, as well as the pad of your palm where your fingers meet your palm. So number 1 is your fingertips, number 2 is where your fingers meet your palm, and then again at the base of your palm. So your palm should be tented up a little bit, and your fingers as well. So you're nice and active, pressing into the ground. Keep a slight bend in your elbows in this tabletop. Fingertips are pressing in, base of the fingers at the palm are pressing in, and then as well as the kind of each lower side of your palm. So try to remember that while we're in tabletop, and try not to dump weight into your wrist, because that's when our wrists get really sore and tired. So keep nice and active hands. So here we are in tabletop. Make sure knees are under the hips again. You can either curl your toes under, or you can lay the tops of your feet flat on the mat. Up to you. So to start here, we're going to do kind of a side crunch flow. So that you can see what I'm doing from the front, we're going to kind of squish, pretend you have a ball or something here right at your side at the bottom of your rib cage, and then squish in. You can feel your hip bone coming towards your rib cage, so think of bringing your shoulder towards your hip. So you're getting a stretch through one side and a crunch on the other. And then we're going to come back to center, do the same thing to the other side. So shoulder moving towards that hip, hip moving towards the shoulder, and then move back to center. We're going to go back and forth in that, trying to match it with our breath again. So inhale in neutral tabletop. Exhale, crunch the left side together. And then inhale back to center. Exhale, crunching the right side together. Come back to center. Continue with that, nice and slow. Getting kind of a snake motion through your spine. And you're never holding that crunch for very long. You're just kind of getting there and then moving back out of it. So it's a very dynamic, just flowing back and forth movement. The rest of your spine is staying nice and straight. You can see my head is in line with the rest of my spine. I'm not looking up or looking down. Just nice and neutral. And the next time you come back to center, you can stay there. And then you can either open your knees up and press back into child's pose, or if you just want to sit back on your feet and just roll out your wrists a little bit, then you can do that as well. Whatever you want, just something to give your wrists a little bit of a break. Okay, coming back into tabletop. So we're going to break down cat and cow. So cat is rounding up like this here in tabletop, dropping the head. Cow is lifting the head, dropping the belly, lifting the tailbones. So there's 3 pieces to that within our spine. We're going to try our best to kind of break that down into each part. So we'll start with the head, because it's the easy one. So here in tabletop, I'm nice and neutral. My spine is all in line, my head is in line, my fingertips are pressing in, the bottom of my fingers at the palm are pressing in, and the base of my palm is active as well. So active hands. Now, we're going to keep everything in our spine the exact same. We're just going to move the head up and then move the head down. So through my shoulders, nothing moves in my spine, and in my low back, nothing moves in my spine. So we're just tucking the chin down to our chest as far as we can without anything else moving, and then we're lifting the head up to look out in front of us just without anything else moving. So we're doing that cat and cow motion, but just to the neck, focused in on that cervical spine in the neck. Just do a couple more here. It helps to keep your core nice and engaged, to keep everything stable and just your head moving. Good. Bring your head back to neutral. So now your head is going to stay exactly where it is. Your gaze should be about 3, 4, 5 inches in front of your hands, okay, to keep your head nice and neutral. So now the head stays there, so keep your gaze. Your tailbone and your hips are still staying where they are, and we're just going to push the shoulders up and then drop the chest down towards the mat. So nothing is moving in my hips, in my tailbone. Nothing's moving in my head. We're just keeping the movement, isolating it to the shoulders and the upper back. So drop the chest almost like you're rounding your shoulder blades and popping your shoulder blades off of your back, and then round up between the shoulders, pulling them down and away from each other. Don't get frustrated if you're finding it difficult to do this. It's very hard to isolate movements when there's so many muscles that go into them. Let's just sit back for a second, roll out our wrists a little bit. And then next we're going to isolate just the lower back, the lumbar. So come back to that tabletop, nice and strong through the hands. Gaze is a little bit in front of the fingers. Nothing is going to move through the head or the shoulders and upper back. So now we're going to lift our hips and just slightly drop the lower part of our belly. So now we're creating that arch through our lower back, and then round your tailbone back under you so that your spine comes back to neutral. You can see how my spine came back to neutral, or even a little bit past there because I'm tucking my hips under, and then round up and create that bit of an arch through your lower back again. Now when I do that, my shoulders, my upper back's not moving. It might look like it is because of that arch I'm creating, but the shoulders aren't moving. It's really just your hips tipping back and forth. So when your hips tip back and you're creating that flat back again, you're tucking your hips under, you should feel like your core is being engaged and you're pulling your belly button towards your spine. And then when you let that go and round your back, your lower belly is dropping towards the mat a little bit as your hips come back up. So now we're just isolated to the lower back, the lower spine. A couple more of those. Good, sit back again, roll your wrists a little bit, and we'll put it all together now. So we've done the cervical spine through the head and neck, and then we did the thoracic spine through the shoulders and chest, and we did the lumbar and the sacrum at the lower back and hips. So now we'll put all of that together into our cat and cow. So back into tabletop with nice, strong, active hands. So everything this time, so head lifts, belly drops, chest drops, and the hips rise up. So there's our cow. And then exhale, push down through the hands, round through the upper back and shoulders, drop the chin to the chest, and drop your tailbone. So now we have every single part of the spine doing their part through these cat and cow. Just do a few rounds of this on your own breathing pattern. So an inhale brings your head up to cow, and exhale drops your head down and lifts your shoulders, rounds your back. Now, if you want to add in some lateral movement, so same kind of idea in the cat and cow, but you can kind of create a roll or a wave through your upper back. So if you round up through cat, and then when you drop your chest, if you move your weight to one arm to one side, and then drop your chest, you're creating kind of this barrel roll or a jump rope with your spine. So that's a lateral cat and cow movement. Looks kind of funny, but it feels really good through your shoulders. You can try that. And then switch directions if you are doing that. And your hips are kind of following with it, so they're kind of getting a bit of a lateral movement through it as well. And then just come back to center, push back into either child's pose or just seated. Give your wrists a little roll out. All right, and one more in tabletop. We're almost done there. So nice active hands. We're just going to give our spine a little bit of a twist here in tabletop as well. So bring your left hand into the center of your mat, so right under your face, and then lift your right hand up to the sky and create that twist through your torso. So you're opening up the chest to the right side, right hand reaches up, and then drop back to center, move your left hand back out to where it was. Now opposite side, so right hand comes into the center, open the left hand up to the ceiling, open up through your shoulders, and then come back to the ground, move your right hand back where it was. Same thing again, so left hand to center, right hand opens up, look up at your hand, bring it back down, left hand comes back out. Right hand into center, left hand lifts, back down, and right hand back out. Let's do each side one more time. So opening up to the right, coming back, and opening up to the left. Good. Open your knees and sink your hips back into child's pose. Arms reach out in front of you and your forehead can come to the mat. Or if your forehead doesn't quite get there, you can use a block or a book to support your forehead. And just take a few breaths there in child's pose just to relax. Take nice deep breaths. And then you can come back up to seated. So if you have your foam roller, then we'll use it now. So if you don't have a foam roller, you could also use a lacrosse ball, or actually, if you have a really hard reusable water bottle, just like a good supportive one, then you can also use it. So we're going to lie down on our back now. And you want the foam roller up near your head. So when you lie down, you want to tuck the foam roller right at the base of your neck and head. like it's kind of like a pillow. So just get into a comfortable position. You can have your legs out flat. I find that I want a little bit more support for my lower body, so I bend my knees up. So that foam roller is just at the base of your neck, or your lacrosse ball or a water bottle, whatever you have that's kind of round and can fit in there. We're just going to look back and forth. So look over to the left side and then look over to the right side. And you'll just get kind of a bit of a massage through the base of your head and the top of your neck. You can play around a little bit and drop your chin closer to your chest and do the same thing, just rock your head back and forth a little bit. If you ever feel a pinch, like a really painful pinch through the spine in your neck or the base of your head, then please stop doing this. But if it's just kind of muscle tightness and soreness, then just keep giving your neck a bit of a massage. If you have if you have a foam roller and a lacrosse ball, then you can try both of them to see what the difference is, or if you have foam rollers of different kind of soft to hardness, then you can try different ones like that as well. Or how thick the foam roller is. If this doesn't feel good, then obviously stop doing it. But I find it just gives a good release. We carry tension a lot of the times through that base of our head there. Alright, whenever you're done with that, you can stop. So just take the foam roller out from under your neck and just set your head back down on the mat and just kind of let that sink in, what you just did with the foam roller. You can rock your head back and forth a little bit if you'd like. Take a couple deep breaths. Good. And then have us sit up again, and we're going to grab either our books or our blocks, whatever you have. You could actually use a foam roller as well if you have that. So our blocks are going to go in kind of a T shape, or our books. So this block here, I'll try and show you on my back. So one block is going to come up to the top of your back, kind of between your shoulders here, supporting your back. And then your other block is going to go sideways, the opposite direction, supporting your head. So that's what it should look like on the ground underneath you. So the one going along your upper back, your spine, is vertical, and then the one at your head is horizontal. So your hips are sitting on the ground, and then you're going to lie back onto those blocks or your books, and you're just getting a little bit of elevation through your upper back and creating a bit of an arch there to open up through the chest. And you can lay your arms out to each side. You might feel a bit of a stretch through the chest, where your chest muscles are connecting into the top of your arm. Now, if you don't have the blocks, but you do have a foam roller, you can do the same thing with it. Or you can use books instead of blocks as well. So the foam roller is going to come up your spine and support both your upper back and your head. This does the blocks work. This one, you may find that unless you have a foam roller, that the base of it at your spine digs in. So you can try this though, same thing, opening up through the chest. Just let your arms lay out to each side. Nice deep breaths. Now you can stay there if you like, if the opening up the chest is where you need to feel the stretch, or you can take just one block or book and lie down. Place the soles of your feet on the mat and lift your hips up like you're doing a bridge, a glute bridge, and then bring the block or the books right underneath your hips so that they're supporting your hips. You may have to play around with the positioning of that block a little bit, but eventually you can bring one leg out straight and then maybe the second leg out straight. And now the stretch is moving into the front of your hips and you're getting a bit of an arch through your lower back and just pushing the hips up. So you don't have to do this one or the chest opener one, just do whichever one feels best, or you can try both. And then just open up the arms, just lie and breathe nice and deep for a few breaths. So whether you have the blocks under your hips or under your chest, if it feels really good and you're enjoying that stretch, then feel free to stay there. Or you can